Alaman.
Oh, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever or whatever you may be. This is the overnight. I am DM Foss, and so far it's just me, all alone in the dark. So we'll see if anybody else joins us tonight. Let me get the banner going while I'm thinking about it. There we go at the bottom of the screen. There is an email address on tacticalfoss@gmail.com. You can send pictures, comments, suggestions, anything like that. And there's a link for the Discord server. It's a place to kind of hang out, chit chat. You can get a hold of me. Most of the people that come on the chat, you can get a hold of them there too. And I think there's a link for it also in the description if I remember to put it in there. And if you watch this in replay, leave a comment. Anything we talked about, agree with, disagree with. Let me know what you think. I always read the comments, and they are always appreciated. So let's take a look, see who is out there so far tonight. Vulcan Rumble. And he's saying Massachusetts is taking a great pride in destroying my rights. They will teach others how to take your rights also. That's why I was a little bit late. I was looking at Massachusetts laws, and I did not realize, I knew they were kind of bad. I did not realize how bad they were. But also Mr. Bob Dabalina, Larry Knopf, The Saint, G23, Woods is out there, Hillbilly Up, Mr. Knives. Good evening. And I think that's everybody that has said something so far. If you're out there listening and didn't say anything, don't be afraid to speak up. Let me know you're out there. I appreciate you being there. There was something something I had just thought about before I came out here. I was going to talk about. Now I completely forgot what it was. It was not germane to tonight's topic, but I did buy my first red dot for a pistol. Oh, I was going to mention AAF, American Ammo and Firearms channel, who sometimes he's out there in the chat. He's somebody, check out his channel. He's always finding the good deals, and the Sig Romeo Zero. It's one of the micro red dots, one of the tiny ones, but Primary Arms had them for like $65. So I thought, well, I'll buy one. The one problem is I don't have any guns that are cut for red dots, so I maybe have to get one. Gunmetal Guy USA is out there. There we go. And Bubba, Triclops Ballistics. Wood said AAF is legit. Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop following him because he's costing me too much money. Because he's found some really good deals on stuff. Actually, Mr. Bob saying I'm seeing a dagger in my future. I don't know about a dagger. There is Palmetto State. They have the Apex A1 carry. It's the kind of micro 9. Teeny tiny little 9, and they're from the reviews that I've seen or people talking on forums and stuff that they're not great little guns, but they do have an optics cut. And Palmetto State has them for $229. And there's a $50 rebate from Beretta also. So I don't know. I thought about that. Wasn't really interested in that one, but I don't know. It's kind of a cute little gun. So I don't know. G23 said the P320 I brought up when we hung out was Sig Romeo. How's it going, Hillbilly?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing. The question is, how are you doing?
Oh man, I'm down a pineapple hard seltzer, and I think I'm going to survive.
Well, that's good. And Hillbilly did the fundraiser for the
Scotsman,
the Scottish American.
Yeah,
I know he changed his name. Can't remember if that's what he changed it to or from.
yeah, the Scottish American. I believe it was the Crazy Scotsman at one time, or something like that. Yeah, I believe it's Scottish American.
But you were running fundraiser for him. He's got back problems.
Yeah.
So he's maybe looking at surgery now, and so and people can still donate to that.
Yeah, they can for sure. Your name was picked tonight, but you didn't, or did you get on there in time? You did, didn't you?
Yeah. I won. I picked the Burris scope. I don't have a Burris.
Oh yeah.
So I thought I'd pick that one.
Yes, and not only that, we'll be announcing. I think Jamie JH586 going to be announcing. Just like recently, like within a day ago, there's another wonderful prize that came in, a gift. And so I believe he's going to do another run on that. So people can still donate and have a chance to win something really, really nice. And it does have the name of Winchester on it. So,
So why don't you? Is there a link you can drop for people that might be interested in donating out in the chat?
Actually, we don't have anything set for that yet, but if you just email me at AmericanHillbillyUp@gmail.com, I can get you to where you can get entered in that, even though we're not going to start for I think Jamie said like a week. But you can always get hold of me, email at AmericanHillbillyUp.com or Gmail. I'm sorry. Geez, I had a seltzer earlier, and it's still, those bubbles are still messing with me. But yes, thank you for that, buddy.
Oh, no problem. It's it's a good cause. The Scotsman is a pretty solid dude. So
Mm-hmm. And I see Bubba out there on the side chat. That dude drank not only a hard seltzer, but is in a jar with a pack of milk duds. And then he washed it down with another hard seltzer. So that's a champion right there. And look who jumped on here. That guy right there is definitely a champion. He drank 2 hard seltzers.
Nah, I didn't drink any, man. I was a good boy.
How you doing tonight, Gary?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I didn't drink any seltzers.
Well, you're a smart one.
Definitely.
Yeah, keep it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so tonight's topic is it kind of came out of on the Nextdoor app. It's kind of community app where people can talk to each other. But somebody had posted something about grocery store and shoplifters and blah blah. I don't remember exactly what the post was about, but somebody put let me see. I screenshotted it. I don't know if I saved it. Hang on, let me just a second. See if I still have it. Because yeah, I don't remember exactly what they were talking about, but had something to do with like shoplifters and cops and whatnot. And well, I don't have. I thought I screenshotted it, but I guess I missed exactly what they said. But somebody else here said, "I don't mind loss of privacy if it helps them," and then he's talking about the cops. And somebody else had said something real similar, where they don't mind giving up a little privacy for security. And so that kind of got me thinking, and I instead of security, I put instead of privacy, I kind of shifted it to freedom. But if there's a line, where do you draw that line between freedom and security? How much are you willing, if any, to give up? So is there a line? And this is kind of open for the panel. I have my viewpoint, but I'm not pushing a viewpoint. This is more just a discussion. I'm saying what everybody thinks. So what do you guys think?
You want to go first, Gizzard? Or?
Well, I just sitting here thinking, what's the first thing that comes into my head? And that is, isn't the reason we have the freedoms we have is so we don't have to rely on other people to take care of us and protect us?
Mm-hmm.
That's more how I lean. And you had I forget what state it was, but their Supreme Court, they have, in that state, it was a duty to retreat. And basically the ruling made it sound like even if you're being attacked and you defend yourself, that you're not retreating, so you're guilty. You can be guilty of escalating the situation.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. I can't remember what state it was, but I watched. There's a lawyer, self-defense lawyer. His channel is Law of Self-Defense, and he had talked about it. I watched his video on it. Justin Grimm is out there. Good evening.
Hey, Justin.
Go ahead.
I just want to say something had happened here locally. I don't know, it's probably been 7-8 years ago. There was basically a boys ranch, which was a ranch that like wanted to help like young men, in their teens. They've been in trouble before and to straighten their lives out and stuff like that, and is a good program. Where this ranch was located, to the guys, and like some of these kids get basically they have an option sometimes of go to some place like this or go to jail. And anyway, two of the kids like just kind of left there. It's not like a prison or anything. There's no high security fencing, nothing like that. Anyway, they snuck out one night and they traveled about half mile looking for a vehicle to drive back to. Well, the reason I know the story, they were driving back towards St. Louis, where they were from, and so they found a house. They went in, a man and his wife in the 70s, unarmed, and instead of just stealing their vehicle, they beat him to death with a baseball bat for no reason. Stole their vehicle. And, even if like those people could have got to a phone, the response time, even if you have somebody in law enforcement close by, your response time is going to be minutes, at the earliest, and, why would you want to give up your freedom to carry or have firearms to count on? I'm not putting down law enforcement, none whatsoever, but the response time is what you got to look at. And those people weren't even able to call for help. And so there's things like that happens. And it's a sad deal.
Mr. Bob brings up the Ben Franklin quote: "Those who give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." And going back a little bit, I always forget to star these comments when I see them, so I have to go back and then search for them. Justin Grimm had just said F that.
Well, he's not wrong.
Wood said, "Not a lot of cops can kick all the rocks. Easy to be jackbooted. I trust the government exactly zero amount." Bubba Said we don't have a government. We have a noble and pleb system without titles. Our Attacking Daughters is out there. And every second matters.
But I think in the end, if you really want to take care of yourself, you have to preserve your own life, then you have to value the freedom that you have to, obtain whatever you need to make sure that you are equal to any threat that's out there. And that's all any of us ask, I think, when we become part of the firearms community. We don't, contrary to popular belief, we don't go out and buy a bunch of guns because we want to go out and take over the world or anything like that. We just want people to leave us alone. We want our freedom. We don't want anybody taken away from us. We don't want them taking our life either, or our family. That's all we want to be able to do, is live in peace and enjoy the freedoms that we have. And I think we're willing to defend ourselves to protect that right. And that's why we own firearms and stuff like that. We don't want to hurt anybody.
Woods saying my freedom is way more than just guns. Stay out of my house, doctor's office, church, car without a warrant. Artac brings up the Reagan quote, "I am from the government. I am here to help you." Yeah, because he said something like, "What's the 10 scariest words to hear?" Is "I am from the government and I'm here to help."
Yeah.
And what said, if you did due process, I'm good. No warrant. Kick rocks. Yeah, there's some states that have stop an ID where the police can stop anyone and ask for ID. I think I don't remember how many states. I think more states are not stop an ID. But I'm not. Now I can't remember what the number was. And even if I've watched a lot of like First Amendment auditors and videos on the YouTubes, and even in states that are not stop an ID, that's the first thing that police will ask is, "Can I see your ID?" And then it kind of depends on the officer. Some will lie and say that you have to, and others will just kind of keep pressuring because they need that ID. Nom, 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 nom. They live on that ID. That's one thing to remember, that legally the cops can lie to you unless they're under oath, and even then,
Yeah, but if you lie to a federal official, you can, that could be prison right there just by lying.
there is some. I'm not sure about federal. For
FBI,
local,
I know for sure.
For local, it falls under, if you're under arrest, then you can't lie. If you're not under arrest, then you can lie.
Oh, okay.
But again, that's not federal, so I'm not sure if that's different or not. If you're called in like a hearing, yeah, but then you're usually put under oath.
Yeah. Well, I have a guy I know that moved down here, and he is an FBI agent, and we was out riding 4-wheelers, drinking beer one time, a bunch of us, and he was telling me that. He's like, so, like, if I was working and I asked you a question and you lied to me about that question, then you broke the law. And I was like, I did not know that. I mean, not that I want to lie, but I did not know that that was a law. And so I don't know. And this has been, 7, 8 years ago. So things may have changed too, and they might change from state to state. I have no idea.
Oh, Mr. Bob is saying 27 states have stop and ID, 23 don't. So I got them backwards. But when I was talking about where do you draw that line, is I think the police are important for those who can't protect themselves, and they are basically part of the administrative process. So if there's a crime, they go out and catch the criminal, take them to court, and then the court does their part. And if on one end you have absolute freedom, so it's I'll try to figure out how to frame it where it doesn't sound stupid. So one end is no laws, everybody lives by their own code. The other one is absolute authority, checkpoints and travel papers. Most people wouldn't say the no laws, you're protecting yourself side. So they will bring that line in some from there.
Well, that's anarchy.
But yeah. So how far in do you bring that line? Oh, lead mining 44. It's out there. So Gary, how far in will you bring that line?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know exactly how to answer that. Yeah, we have to have rule of order and all that stuff, but where do you draw the line? I can't answer that. Honestly, can't.
What about you, Hillbilly?
Bring that line right to the edge of my property. Just joking. Well, if you're, part of a history buff or whatever, when they crossed Mississippi and was heading west, a lawless country is pretty ruthless, so we do need some laws. I totally agree with that. But then again, we have to go back, I think, and still look at the Constitution. What rights do we have as, American citizens? And so I don't know how exactly we draw the line, because as we live today, there's overlaps more towards the law coming over towards people's rights than there is people's rights waving, away from, letting the law do what they please to do. So, I mean, I do think it's probably a pretty close line, but if we relate back to just the morals of, people, the Bible, stuff like that, thou shalt not kill, but you still have the right to protect yourself. So, I mean, it's kind of a tough answer. I mean, it really is. And But I think we do need laws. But then also we do need our freedom within those laws to be, with what the Constitution talks about.
I believe we do need laws. I think maybe some less laws than we have. But I think it really hinges on the Constitution. If we stick to the Constitution, then that's where I draw my line. The Constitution. That's Woods said absolute freedom is a disaster. Social norms, common law, traffic, etc. I'm good. Mr. Bob, the government should protect inalienable rights, life, liberty, property, and the right to be left alone. I don't bother you and you don't bother me. That's kind of my sentiment. Justin said, I believe everyone wants rule of law, but they also want it interpreted the same way for everyone. On the face of it, yes, but in practice, I don't know about that. Because I'll hear a lot of people that say, they'll want their feelings enforced, not the law. I don't like what they're doing. Somebody should do something about it. Well, they're annoying you, but they're not doing anything illegal.
Yeah.
And the worst is, I just don't like them for whatever reason.
Exactly.
I've said law for common decency and respect and value of life, self-defense should never be a discussion. One of the problems is when you talk morals or decency, not everybody agrees how that's defined.
Yeah.
And that's part of what the voting process is, to find what the majority of people agree on. And that's what you go with, because you have to have a society, there has to be some agreement on what you're doing, where you're going, and not everybody's going to agree with it. So you go with what the majority agrees with, and not everybody's going to like that. But without them, then you end up with your anarchy. Wood said you don't have a right not to be offended. And that's again, watching like the First Amendment auditors, and some of them there are out there just to be jerks. Some are annoying. Some, I think, do it really well. The First Amendment auditors will go and film something. Most of them will film. So they'll go to like a library, post office, and and film while they're, walking around in the common areas. And then people will call the police because they have a camera and they don't like being filmed. While you're in public, the Supreme Court has ruled that there's no expectation of privacy when you're out in public.
Exactly.
There's no real difference between somebody filming you and somebody looking at you.
I agree with that.
But it's amazing how many people get upset over being filmed. You hear a lot of people say, well, it's illegal for you to film me without my permission. Like, no, it's not. You have to delete that.
If you're in public, yeah.
And they get upset over it, but
if you come on my property, that's a whole nother matter.
Well, that is, because then you're on private property. You're not on public property. And there's a lot of officers that, when they call the police, then they have to come out, and officers that respond that either don't know what the law is or don't care what the law is. And that's when you see the lawsuits and judgments and whatnot. And it does end up causing friction between, like the Second Amendment auditors and the police, but it shouldn't, because they're doing something legal. You'll hear officers say, well, you're just out here trying to get us to do something wrong, and then they do something wrong immediately after that. It's like, well, no, you just chose to do something wrong. You didn't care about their rights. Mr. Bob said there's two types of law violations: malum in se, it's just wrong in and of itself, and malum prohibitum, acts that aren't inherently immoral, but prohibited by statute. And the Saint Pacific Northwest Transparency is a great auditor channel. And Mr. Bob is saying malum per se is like murder, rape, robbery, assault, and battery, etc. And Wood said, now your First Amendment right is just government staying out of it. And that's, kind of talking about where you draw the lines. That's one of the easiest things for people to the First Amendment, it's the easiest for people to start to disregard. I don't like what you're saying. You shouldn't be able to say it. That's you see that in England. There was I saw a post on Instagram about I think it was a London police commissioner. Someone from the US made a post, and I don't know exactly what the post was. I saw a picture of it, but I don't know the full context. But the police commissioner said that they need to be careful, the person in the US, because they will go after him. Well, for one, it's, no, because we're not governed by English law. But, if you look at England, look at a lot of European countries, you do a post that the government doesn't like, you can be put in jail. There was a guy that I saw a video of him being arrested for sharing a post that the government didn't like. And the person filming everything was going on was a person who posted the original post that the guy who was getting arrested shared. And he's the one that got arrested for just sharing it. The guy who posted it, for some reason, the cops didn't go after him. Justin Grimm said, I love auditors in Florida that carry while going fishing, which is legal. Yes. Solo Yacker. I think he's got a couple different channel names. G23 has had him on his chat before. I can't remember his name. Is it Renee? But he's a pretty cool dude. Woods, not the rest of us. If you burn a flag in front of me, your First Amendment right is to do that. You're not protected. I won't kick your teeth in. I won't kick your teeth in. I know I will be charged with assault. And yeah, I think you should be, that's what freedom is. You should be able to burn a flag. I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but I don't have to like it or agree with it. It's your right.
If the flag has hard seltzer on it, then I would agree with that.
Well, if you got hard seltzer on it, then you just need to, take it to a Legion and have them dispose of it properly. A proper burning. A respectful burning. I don't know. We kind of drifted on conversation. That was my fault because I kind of forgot where I was going with it. Yeah, I should have done like an outline. Keep me on track. But again, it was just kind of something that caught my attention. I know there are people that feel that way, that they're willing to give up privacy or some of their freedom to make themselves feel safer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their right to do. How's it going, G-Webs? How you doing tonight?
Fairly middling. I guess my alarm didn't work correctly.
We're just talking about freedom / privacy, because it was versus security. Where do you draw that line? And it kind of fits in, I guess, with a Red Dawn weekend.
Hey, Foss, I'm going to have to drop out. I'm pretty much at the end of my rope. I'm going to have to go to bed.
The feller had several ounces of hard
Well,
seltzer.
I appreciate
It's been
you.
a tough night.
You want to plug anything before you take off?
No, I sure don't. But thanks for having me.
Have a good night.
You too.
Good night, Gizzard. Love you,
night.
buddy.
Love you too.
Yeah, the guy was a trooper, man. Most hard seltzers are 12 ounces. And during the fundraiser, come out where he's going to drink 2 of them. And the cans he bought were singles instead of out of a 6-pack or 12-pack. And they end up being way more than 12 ounces. So anyway, yeah, he had, I don't know, about probably 30 some, possibly 40 ounces of hard seltzer. And I feel sorry for him. That's a lot of bubbles.
Yeah, I've never had a hard seltzer, and I don't ever plan to.
Well, it's the bubbles that, if you like bubbles, then that's fine. The taste, the flavor, lots of different flavors. So it's not so much the taste, it's just the bubbles, the non-ending bubbles, even after it goes down. Just a lot of bubbles.
Justin said we need to get on top of the endless taxation. I kind of agree with that. I think some tax reform. I am a proponent of the flat tax. Everybody pays the same percentage. I don't like the graduated tax code. Because you'll hear people say, well, the rich don't pay their fair share. They're paying, they make more money, but they're paying more money. If everybody paid 15%, then everybody's paying 15%.
Yeah.
And I don't care if somebody makes $3 million. And I'm not jealous of them making $3 million. I don't think they should be punished for making $3 million. Everybody, that would be the fairest, is everybody's paying the same percent.
Well, there's an element to it where we don't have obligations to stay where we're at. So if you've got the ability to move to whatever country you want, then one country says, "Oh, we need you to pay way more than anybody else or whatever, and go ahead and just pay for that." As soon as that becomes a burden or annoying, then they've got the means to just relocate to a different country that doesn't tax them, and just relocate their business to that country, relocate their other, assets to those countries, and then we just lose the rich people. So, there's people know about countries that have tax shelters or that for whatever reason don't have laws. What do they call that? Where you bring people back after they committed a crime. So we know that criminals will go to countries to hide, but rich people, again, companies and rich individuals, they got no reason to stay in a country that's mean to them. We have a country that has a lot of opportunities and freedoms and stuff, and stuff to enjoy, so they don't mind. Or, if they started in this country, they got no incentive to leave. But as soon as you overtax the shit out of rich people, they're just like, oh, okay, let's just go somewhere where they don't have to overtax the shit out of us. And people that think you can just tap an unlimited amount of resource out of rich people aren't paying attention to that. And that happens every time they start pushing like that, And that's, I think, the difference between Reagan and some of the others is Reagan was like, tried to enunciate that hey, if you make it intolerable for businesses, they'll just go relocate to some other country. They don't care, especially now that we have so many international businesses, or like Coca-Cola and stuff that started here, but they're not here anymore. Like, they're international players. So it's not like, like if you tell Coca-Cola, you make it what's the word, like uninhabitable for them to be in the United States. What do they care? They got what do you call it, pieces of their company in every single continent, in every single country. So they just shift their burden, their operations to some other continent, some other country, if America made it so horrible for them. So they don't owe us. Rich people don't owe us. So at some point, I think there's that end of it, that like you're saying, the tax thing. I don't know. I think, though, that if you made it 10% to everybody, that's the kind of stuff that everybody can get behind, where, it's 100% or it's 60% for you because you made so much money. They'll just be like, yeah, okay, see ya. We're going to go to a country where they won't pay any taxes.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And if it was Foss was talking about, a flat tax, and then some companies like, well, we don't want to pay our 10% or whatever it is, we'll just move our, manufacturer somewhere else. Well, then we have the right to charge a tariff for them to sell into the United States. And so that would be, basically be getting their, I think would keep them from moving to another country. And if they knew, okay, we make this amount of money, we're going to pay this amount. So they will basically put that within their budget and, their production. Whereas the way it is now, I'm not going to lie. I've wrote, a side-by-side off for my business because I can legally, vehicles or whatever, because you can do that legally. And the deal is just get, if we have something we know, okay, this is what we're going to pay, and, on the percentage that we make, I think that's the fairest thing possible. I mean, in my own opinion, and I know a lot of people might disagree with that.
Mr. Bob said the big problem with that is once the government takes a right, it never gives it back. That's true. It basically creates the new floor. So you lose the rights, and that becomes the norm. And then, so you lose a little, that's the starting point where you lose another right, and then that becomes the norm that everybody gets used to. And I hate the slippery slope. I've been hearing slippery slope since, since the 80s. So I personally hate that term, but it is a slippery slope.
Well, it's the same thing. Whatever product you want to sell, I don't care if it's gasoline, milk, or whatever. And I'm just going to use these numbers for easy math. But say it's selling at $1, and you want to double that price to $2. Well, first of all, you jump it to $3 or $4, then you come back down to $2, and everybody's happy.
Yeah.
And that's with most consumer stuff. And I mean, companies know this, so.
Vulcan Rumble's asking anybody going to stream Goal.
GOA in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Gizzard is.
No, they're going to Goal, but they're not going to stream from Goal. The streaming is, for whatever reason, not a big, primary interest of people. Most people go to these events and they're worried about meeting everybody and seeing the people they want to see and then whatnot. So there's some people that stream from SHOT or whatever. They'll make, because SHOT's 4 days long or whatever. They'll make plans and stream from there because SHOT's 8 hours long or whatever for 4 days plus. And but these events that are just a few days, nobody wants to take their time away from the event and stream live. What bothers me is nobody streams live after either. They all show up at 5 o'clock. The event's over by 7. Everybody's done eating. So from like 7 to 9 or 10, whenever they go to sleep, they're all just sitting around talking to each other. I wish everybody would go live and stream then. We used to do that kind of stuff back in the day. Or somebody at home would stream and give everybody a link, or somebody there would stream and then give everybody a link, and then people can kind of be part of the immediate after action like that is happening at the events.
Mm-hmm.
That was when we had good channels, so there was maybe dozens of people at an event from different cliques and different groups, and they were all in gun channels, so that there was this reason to come together and kind of coordinate and find out if anything was going on that they missed or whatever. But I think it just takes for people to kind of get in that habit again. A lot of people have audiences, but they don't have I don't know what to call it. Like, I'm going to call it a community. Like, the gun channels was a bunch of people who were building content, not necessarily trying to be content creators. The subtle difference is people who just created content because they liked it and they enjoyed it. They liked having a camera and being part of it. But their goal wasn't necessarily, I'm going to make money off of this, or I'm going to become famous and rich and stuff. Or like, I want to be part of the community, so I'm going to just show up and be at these events or whatever. When it was just a bunch of people just doing stuff, like Wanamaker. Nobody was going to Wanamaker to try to make a fortune. They were just going to Wanamaker because it was fun to do, make some videos, and because they were with other content creators, we could get together at the evenings and coordinate with everybody. But these events that are, I don't know, call them industry events, they're designed for people to go, well, at least now they're getting more and more designed for people to go do business. So people that are doing business tend to not be as interested in going streaming and all that. I don't know. It's technically easier and easier. So there's like technically no reason to do it. I mean, I'm sure the internet connections are stronger than ever and the phones are more capable than ever. It's not like it's such a huge event that they're going to have any issues in the town or anything. It's just a matter of, it's just not a thing people do right now. It's not a common enough thing for people to do. So I haven't heard anybody talk about streaming from it.
I haven't either.
And then if you're live streaming and there's guns in the background, blah, 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 you have a chance of getting that stream taken down and getting a strike nowadays too. So
I don't think, but if you're talking about people just hanging out at their hotel rooms after the event.
Yeah, no, hotel rooms is fine, but I'm talking about like streaming at the event.
Yeah. I don't know how they would handle that.
Woods said 10% from everyone, talking about taxes, 10% from everyone, no write-offs. I had heard a plan that I kind of liked was, it was either the percentage, I think 15% was what they were discussing. You you do the 15%, everything's straightforward, or you can itemize, but then you have to go through and then do all your taxes that way. I kind of like that idea.
Yeah. Well, one thing that is kind of that people, unless you've had employees yourself, that people don't understand is the employee tax. So I'm just going to, again, try to use easy numbers. So if you hire somebody, you're paying them $10 an hour. It's going to cost you roughly about $12 an hour to hire that person for $10 an hour by the time you do your employee tax and everything.
Wood said we also don't need to do our taxes. They know how much we need to pay already. Fill out the forms the right way or else. It's silly. Mr. Bob said the government doesn't need us anymore. If they need money, they issue bonds, and the Fed prints money to buy the bonds. We pay taxes to preserve the illusion of our money has value.
Well, how many wars the tax, was supposed to be gone after, the war was paid off? And I'm not a scholar on this, but from what some people I've heard talk about that might or might not be a scholar is that, like, we might still be paying taxes on World War I, II, whatever. And, they're just in the fine print. And I don't know that to be a fact, but, it's just something I've heard.
I could see that. When in Tacoma, they built a second bridge to cross the Tacoma Narrows. And there was a tax for it. Well, the toll for it. It was supposed to only be for as long as until it paid it off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still there. And they have raised the toll a couple times.
So this bridge costs the X amount of money, or we collect this X amount of money, then the toll will be gone.
Yeah.
They've done that in Florida too, all over the place.
Mr. Bob brings up that the Yankee Marshal streams from his gun safe every day. As long as he doesn't pick up a gun in a way the camera can see it, he's fine. He does. He has a gun room and does it from there. You can see him on the background. He has gotten dinged he stood up and had his carry piece on his hip.
Mm-hmm.
And so he got a strike for that.
Well, I can tell you this: we got a stream taken down, our VIP, members stream, and it was within the first few minutes, and it was me and my wife sitting here saying hi to the side chat. There was no guns in the background. We weren't even talking about guns, and that got taken down. And you pill it, and the human's supposed to look at it and say, "Oh yeah, they did not violate any, any YouTube policies," but the human, they said, "Yeah, you violated policies." Dang good and well, you didn't. And same way with the video that got taken down. I mean, so you're at the mercy of them. Honestly, you are. It don't matter if you follow policies or not. You're just at their mercy, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Sergeant Joe Smith said, "You guys pay taxes? You're doing it wrong then."
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're right, Mr. Bob.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I'm a big believer in, hey, you're in somebody's house, you play by the rules, even if, regardless of, if you're talking about government, city laws, city rules, um, YouTube, um, it's like, okay, you know what the rules and laws are, then you abide by those, or you can expect, having a violation if you don't follow those.
I think
And
one of the problems is it's such a big company that nobody really knows what's going on. So they just kind of say, "Oh, well, yeah, I guess you did this," and so maybe nobody even really knows what happened, but they need to give an answer, so they just said, "Well, yeah, sure, it's legit."
mhm.
G-Webs, I haven't been able to go back and listen to your stream today. How did you cover the Red Dawn Day? I know you were gonna do some Red Dawn stuff.
Oh, Tony and I just kind of riffed on it for 3 hours or something. So we didn't really have a script or anything, of course, but just kind of riffed on different aspects of it. 40th anniversary and all.
Yeah.
I think my big revelation is that in 2024, Red Dawn ain't the same. We don't have a Cold War anymore, and people that weren't living through it don't know the significance of that. I don't know what to call it, like that concept, I guess, had taken place during, being presented that concept during the Cold War. It was a different movie than other movies, but the idea that conventional war could happen when we were all kind of on the concept of nuclear war. I just don't think that's a thing anymore. After 20 years of a global war on terror that was essentially conventional, it's not like there's this inevitable nuclear war right on the horizon that everybody's in fear of, that here's an alternative to that, an alternative future to that. And because there's not this like stress that the entire world is dealing with together, there can't be a Red Dawn anymore. Like, there's no, that's why the new Red Dawn sucks so bad. Like, there's not, I don't know what to call it. There's not that factor or whatever. So Red Dawn, I think, is a little unique for our generation. When we were old enough to understand its significance, I think our parents could care less because they were familiar with like World War II and stuff, and giant world wars and stuff. And Red Dawn was kind of it struck a chord for a bunch of us, but I don't think it's going to strike that. I don't see any reason why it would strike that chord to somebody born in 2002 or something.
Well,
I can see that.
there was something really significant in that movie when there were, if people ain't watched it, but the Russians come to invade, and there's one thing that on the screen that the Russian that was leading it said to like his second in charge was, and you could probably answer this, G-Webs, go to the gun shops and the pawn shops and get this information. What was that information?
He just did a post on Instagram about that.
Okay.
Yeah, the 4473, but yeah, that's a classic scene.
Yeah. So they immediately knew the people in that area that had firearms. And
I think in 1984, that shook people too, because people who know what it is know what a 4473 is. Everybody bought a gun knows what that is. And to have it on the screen where the Russians are like, oh, by the way, just go get everybody that has guns real quick. Here's how you find out.
Mm-hmm.
That had to be an eye opener. But like I say, not enough people watched it to really shook them. But those of us that had were like, oh, shit.
Yeah, the information's there for people to take. I mean, that's just, in a way, that's kind of crazy.
Dude, super crazy, especially in an actual invasion. Because yeah, the pieces of paper are sitting there. It's not even like they have to log on to anything. The pieces of paper are sitting in a drawer,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not going to take over gun shops as soon as somebody invades or something, or bad regime or whatever you want to call like a future scenario. Like, yeah, of course they're going to take the gun shops first. But well, we could rage about a lot of stuff. But yeah, that element of it is a classic piece of Red Dawn, I think.
Yeah. I thought that was really like great information and great writing for, the movie was wonderful, but for them to add that, I mean, that was just, a step up.
And it was so classic because it wasn't like dun 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 or like big spotlight could shine on it. It wasn't like exaggerated. It was just like part of the movie. And then I guess one way to look at it is that guy then becomes, has a self-reflection like, oh, wait a minute, I used to be the rebel. This is no different than when I was resisting invaders in my country. And there's that element of it. But then let's see, it was right before that, if I remember right, like literally the scene kind of opens. That's the end of that scene, but the scene opens with the guy dead on the ground and the bumper sticker that says "From my cold dead hands." And the commie comes up and steps on his wrist and takes his 1911 right in front of that bumper sticker. That was, I just said, it was an iconic scene, but it also just happens faster than shit. And it just moves right on to that next scene. So it's just such a like hard hitting couple of moments in that movie where you're like, cold dead hands sounds like a cool saying on a bumper sticker until you're dead and the commie is picking the gun up out of your cold dead hands. And it's like, oh shit, that's what this sticker's all about.
Mm-hmm.
The Saint says Susan Wojcicki died today.
Who is that? Is that the YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, died today. Holy moly, she's not old.
56.
Wow.
Stress or like a fancy life of eating caviar every day?
I don't know.
Probably too much bacon.
Oh, Hillbilly. In the movie Upgraded.
Did you watch that?
I did watch it.
I thought it was a decent movie.
It was.
The guy gets the bugs or the nano somethings in him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's super
But at the very beginning, when he's working on that Firebird, and he's just finishing off, where he's at. He's like tightening a bracket or something. If you listen to the sound, he's loosening that bolt. He's turning the wrench the wrong way. If you listen to the clicks, he's loosening whatever he's working on. So
yeah, we just come across that movie on Netflix or whatever, and I was like, let's watch this. I mean, and it's kind of a deal. You had some old cars, you had some futuristic stuff, and some AI type stuff, and I'm like, Foss might enjoy this. So yeah,
it wasn't a great movie. There's definitely some problems. I mean, that he's wrenching the wrong way to start it. But the whole chip, where the inventor of it says that the chip has been running things for a while. He had the chip loose. He could have smashed it with a hammer at any time. That was one problem. And then there's a scene where when the chip is in the guy, when he's out running around looking for whoever, and he's getting beat up, he's laying on the ground, and the chip stops responding for a while. And then when it starts responding and he gets up, he goes from prone to on his feet, flips up like a solid board.
Yeah.
The chip doesn't give him superpowers. It just kind of stood out that he goes whoop.
Well, one of the things that I noticed, besides a few of the flaws or whatever you want to call it to the movie, was when they went to the rich guy's house. They walked up by these rocks, and then there's just stairs going down.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, being an excavating all my life, I'm like, water's just going to be pouring down these stairs. I mean,
That
where's
was
the
my first
drainage
thought
for
too.
this?
It's going to get wet. There's no door.
Yeah. Like, he must have a hell of a French drain down here.
Sergeant Joe said she died from non-small cell lung cancer.
Oh, wow.
Well, even have a mess of money doesn't stop you from getting sick, I guess.
That's what they say. It said live every day like it's your last. You never know.
You betcha.
I like that movie. I thought it was a pretty good action movie. I wouldn't say the sci-fi, like you say, there's some glitches, but it's more of an adventure action. They just use sci-fi.
Yeah.
I mean, there was stuff in it I liked, and there's stuff in it I didn't like. The guys who had the guns in their arms,
Yeah.
they're projectile weapons, so you have to be able to load that somehow.
Well, they had a port to load them.
Because I didn't notice that.
Yeah, there was another port where they put the bullets in. And then, because I was the same way, I'm like, so how are they loading these? And then it showed the one bad guy, kind of the main bad guy. It showed him actually loading some bullets in his upper arm for that.
I missed that.
Yeah, because that was one of those. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is great. I mean, it's still crazy regardless, but I mean, yeah, they did have a port to load the ammo in. I think it was 9mm G-Webs.
Mr. Bob said tube load in the biceps.
Yeah. But I did respect the fact that they threw some old cars in there. I was like, okay, this is, yeah. Even though everything, the dude is running the wrench backwards, the ratchet, but yeah, at least they threw some old cars in there. And I like the idea that the dude was totally against like the electric car. Not for this fact, but he was in old cars, and his wife or girlfriend or whatever had this electric car that just, you got in when it drove itself and everything. And he's like, I don't feel comfortable in this car. And I would be the same way personally.
I kind of would probably be that same way too. Like on my car, I have turned off all the safety features that I could. I don't want it beeping at me constantly. I don't want the automatic braking. The lane keeping is really annoying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even I get the warning sometimes. If I come up, there's a couple places where there's a 90-degree turn, and as I'm coming up and I'm on the inside of the turn, when there's a car coming around that corner, technically it's in front of me, and my car sees it, and it'll flash the warning that there's a car in front of me. Well, yes, it's a turn. It's supposed to be there.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I like, or why I say I don't like it, I mean, because people actually got hurt. But one of the things I thought was kind of funny in a way was when they had the electric delivery vehicles and like they crashed. This was, a few years back. They're like, well, there was no data, responding, on the computer, and so my thing is like the computer's like, oh shit, we're about to crash, and it just shuts off, And I think they've updated that since then. But yeah, there for a while it was like, the computer just cover its eyes and like, yeah, we're fixing to crash.
The
I'm out of
Saint,
here.
talking about the movie, do they have the freedom to load that security? Talking about the guys with the guns in their arms. Mr.
Oh.
Bob said, with too many electronic features, you spend more time monitoring the features than watching the road. I've kind of wondered if, with all the features, safety features and whatnot, it does make you safer in your car, but does it make people worse drivers because the car is taking over some of that responsibility?
Me personally, I drove a new Chevy truck a few years back. Test drove it, and the biggest fault, for one, I wasn't going to buy it brand new. I was checking it out. I was going to try to find a used one worth the money, but it's real simple to go to the car lot, and dealership and test drive one, see if you like everything about it. And we test drove it just outside of town. It was 2-lane, all that. And when I was around the vehicle and started to try to pull in front of them, I had plenty of space. I was totally clear. The steering wheel was fighting me. And I'm like, no, I'm not having none of this bullshit. I'm not going to have the steering wheel fighting me. If, I need to make a turn, I want to make a turn, regardless if it be safety for, a vehicle, a human being, whatever the case might be. I don't like to have that taking control over, what I can see personally. Now, I do like the deal if a car stops in front of you, you glance off the road for a second or, whatever case, down at your dash or whatever, that it could break for you and keep you from hitting the person in front of you. I totally understand that, but controlling the steering wheel, I did not care for that.
I don't know. What if I want to hit somebody with my car?
I mean, what do you do if a deer, you're driving late at night and a deer runs out in front of you? Is that thing going to stir you right into a 40-foot oak tree head on and kill you and your family? I mean, I understand like where you live might be different possibilities, but around here, those trees do not move at all. And, instead of just hitting a deer, that'd be your better odds instead of hitting a 40-foot oak tree, that's not going to move at all when you hit it.
Mr. Bob said, if I'm liable for what the car does, I want absolute control of the car.
Yeah.
Venice Kitty's out there. Good morning.
So I was listening to the thing with this Navy guy talking to another Navy guy about drones and what they're doing with drones now. And he was saying that the real money in Tesla isn't the car, the electric car. It's been around for a while, and he's developing the electric car a little bit. But the self-driving part of it, that's the part that's never been done before, and that's every single day. Essentially, those cars, once something, like you say, once they have to make a decision on do I do this or that, they all know that now, and they all figure out that, and they take that into consideration or whatever. So they should be getting smarter all the time and more capable all the time. And, just like anything, this is the Model T of that. Like, this is the beginning of all of that. But that part isn't.
I'm not a huge Elon Musk fan. He's got a little bit of P.T. Barnum, I think, in him. That was, I will say, he put out a tweet. Gavin Newsom put out a tweet about somebody had done used AI to change Kalama, however you pronounce her name, Harris,
Calamala.
one of her campaign videos,
Yeah.
and they to do a parody.
Yeah,
and Gavin
Elon
Newsom,
did that.
yeah, Gavin Newsom said that it should be illegal, and Elon responded to him saying, according to Professor Sug on These Nuts, parody is legal. So yeah, I kind of liked him a little more.
Yeah,
For
and
Professor Sug on These Nuts.
yeah,
I think
that
there's an
was-
element that when you're the richest dude like he is, I don't know if he's the richest guy, but he's pretty close to being one of the richest people, that there's so many people interested in making a buck off anything he says or taking it any way they want, that what can he even say that somebody's not going to take it both at the same time the right way, and some people are going to take it the wrong way, and the people that hate him are going to just go off in every single direction. So
well,
I'm going to give him a little bit of room for that. Like when you're saying P.T. Barnum, I mean, he's just a massive owner. He's an owner of massive companies like the space thing and the Tesla thing alone. But then he's got the tunnel and he's got other stuff, the satellites. I mean, he's doing some pretty major things that people take pretty major offense with. Like think of all the people with satellites that he's offending. He's bothering, like massive infrastructure that's been around for a long time, probably hates him because he's just some ways changing the future of, horse and buggy and electric, car, real automobiles. He's taking the future and removing it from wires and stuff. So I bet there's a ton of people that could care less, but because of what he's doing, they hate him. And anything he says is going to be twisted and, made fun of and whatever. So, I mean, all the people that hate him, and then there's just a bunch of people that hate anybody that's been successful at stuff, right? But there's also people that hate electric cars, so they hate that he's successful there. And then because he was successful with electric cars, and all these people invested so heavily in a concept, not just the car, but the whole lifestyle. And then he went, is he conservative? I don't know. He kind of went libertarian. He went in the middle of the road. He kind of went his own way.
He's
didn't
been
walk
a
in
little
lockstep.
all over the place.
But he's not in lockstep with the left, right? So
No.
those people that
Exactly.
made their whole thing I have an electric car because I love the planet and you hate the planet, right? Like those people, once they seen him not just what's the word, only tout their point of view, they let him go. That's got to be a real quandrum or whatever for them. They can't handle that. They love his product, but they hate him. So they probably hate him on a whole nother level, I think.
I can hopefully fill in some of those answers. Trading stocks, you have for the last several years, there's people that were and maybe still are really, really Elon fanboys. I mean, the dude, he said one time he put out a post, hey, I'm selling these flamethrowers and there's only going to be X amount of dollars of them or X amount of them. And I'm selling for this price to raise money for, or whatever the deal was, is, I don't know, kind of a deer or whatever. They all sold out. Those flamethrowers are from him are you could buy are quadruple, I mean, way more money than what they're worth. And so there was people out there and with electric cars and stuff. But then when he went to take over Twitter, that's where he lost the left, because he said, regardless, I believe in free speech. And I've sat here and watched what has happened, control of them shadow banding and kicking people off. And I believe in free speech. So he made that step, to take over Twitter. And, I was trading stocks along with this. So, we were following this very close. And then the left started really, really coming after him when he did that. And so he's like, hey, I believe in free speech. I believe in this and that. And they really started hating him. He's not really changed much of his point of view. It's just he went from here to an enemy, and so they pushed him on, onto another direction a little bit, even though his actual, things he said before have not changed. It's just they moved him by what they say about him. And I'm still like, I'm not a, Elon fanboy, but man, the guy has took something that our government cannot do with our entire space system. They lost money. They had to shut it down. He comes in, risk everything, with SpaceX. And finally, like, he wanted to hire the best engineers for these rockets to land back on, the barge in the middle of the ocean. Well, guess what? The best engineers that he wanted to hire would not work for him. They're like, no, we don't want, no problem with that. You're kind of going against the government. He engineered himself, and that's why he had three kind of failures, and he finally got it right, like on the fourth one. Well, he
Have a
said,
good night, Justin.
good night, buddy. He said, if I could have got the right engineers in place, we probably could have did it correct on the first one and possibly the second one. But he goes, we were pretty much going for broke, trying to do this, not waste money to where an engine could actually land back and we could save it, reuse it. And so, I mean, I do have respect for the guy. Honestly, I do. And on that Purdy deal, he also come out and said again that if you're going to get on to me for this parody, it is a parody, but then you would have to sue every comedy person, every comic, all this stuff. And as far as I know, it is legal in this, this country to do jokes and parodies. And he's right on that too. Even though the AI can do like some weird stuff. And he even said that he's willing to sit down and like put some restriction on AI. So,
Well, he started AI, and then now he's getting all pissed at the people who are screwing with that. Was it OpenAI? Right? Didn't he start OpenAI? And then quit because they didn't like what they were doing with it?
I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Mandatory carry was out there.
It's like he's fighting a fire.
When you were talking about the drones, I saw a video of a drone taking down a Russian helicopter.
Oh yeah, by getting in the way of it or taking it out like with a missile?
Hit the tail rotor.
Just sacrificed itself?
Yep.
Crazy.
That's a few dollars.
So what that I kind of thought of that as you were talking about when we were talking about Red Dawn and how things are changed. The drone warfare has completely changed, I think.
Those drones are gonna change it completely. Like, we're living in the olden days of, like, we're living in the last of the horse and buggy days. But where were we just talking about this? I think maybe it was in me and Tony chatting. But I was just watching a really interesting interview with a SEAL who must have worked with, I think he worked with drones. I have to watch the interview again because I was doing stuff, but he worked with drones or something while he was a SEAL. And you can imagine what a SEAL team would get for drones, some sort of tactical high-end thing. So he must have been impressed or interested in that. He got out of the military, and his next job or whatever, he ended up, one of his things to do when he got out was to start a company. So he makes drones for all different kinds of applications, military applications. And yeah, when you take AI and that kind of concept of a machine that can understand and learn and what's the word? I guess understand, but can compound its knowledge. Then you put it as a pilot of a drone, then yeah, you can get all kinds of pennies on the dollar, right? Like you just said, you can take out a massive helicopter with a couple $100 worth of drone, and there's so many applications for that. So anyway, I'm pretty sure that the future is going to end up being some sort of drone stuff. And as soon as we're drones killing drones, then there won't even be the issue with who makes the kill order, because right now the big concern is who pushes the button on the deaths. We can make a robot kill people, but nobody is given the autonomy to the robot to make the decision. That they have the capability and they can put them places to do the job, but nobody's going to allow robots to just make decisions. So that right now the issue is, how do you get a person to pull the trigger? How do you get a person to make that final decision on what the drone does? But as soon as it's drone on drone battle, then it's just going to be, hey, as long as there's not a human there, take out all the other drones. You know what I mean? Like that, I could see them saying Antarctica is our battle place, and let's go have battles there, or some desert somewhere is our battle place. Let's go have deserts there. And I don't know. I don't think
you're
you'll
gonna hear a
turn
bunch of
games.
zoom. They're gonna be shooting lasers.
Yeah, exactly, right. Or EMP little blast.
M. Gabriel's out there.
Hey, buddy. But earlier I was wanting to say something too about the electric vehicles. I think this is something that probably some people don't think about. If you're going to use semis, what we know of semi trucks deliver goods across the country, and you add all the batteries that vehicle is going to need to take to run, 8 hours or whatever, on a charge, you're probably going to double the weight of that load. So if you ever drove tractor trailers, you know that there's a lot of bridges, very many of them, that have weight loads. So that's going to be another thing, another instruct. We're going, sorry, I got tangled up in words. We're going to have to build new bridges, new highways, and all that just to handle the weight of some of those vehicles, which would be a massive amount of money.
There's a guy in Canada. I don't know what his YouTube channel is, but he runs logging trucks, and he put a deposit down on one of the Tesla trucks when they first came out. But he's waited so long for that he ended up converting one of his old trucks, old semis, to electric. And I forget how much he said it cost. And he told Tesla he wants his money back. I think he got a refund for the down payment, but he was able to convert his stuff before Tesla could roll out their official truck.
Yeah.
And he was interested in it because, that instant torque that you get he thought would be good for hauling logs.
Yeah. Hills, stuff like that. Yeah. But then you also got to think, most trucks hold 250-gallon saddle tanks of diesel. So 500 gallons of diesel to make it, from coast to coast. And then, your Amazon shipment or whatever it is that you're ordering, those trucks can only go so far. Then they're going to have to stop, recharge, and then go. And so you're looking at, I think the estimate was 3 to 4 days from coast to coast or something like that. Whereas with a team driver, they can make it in, just one trip, without stopping. And so everybody's delivery is going to be slowed down tremendously.
No,
all
they got to do is they're not connected. So all they got to do is take the load and give it to a new charged truck. Instead of going to a gas station and charging, they go to a gas station and stay there. But the cab, the robot cab that's already charged picks up the load and runs.
Yeah,
So
but if
it's not
that
limited to-
new cab, I mean, I don't know if you price tractor trailers, but you know they're about 500,000, and that's for a diesel powered one. So, what's the price of these electric ones going to be? And then now you have one sitting, waiting for a load to come in.
Well, it's like the Pony Express. Those guys only rode a portion of the way, but the letter got all the way across. So yeah, there's going to be a different amount of trucks, but once they got their infrastructure, then it's just passing each other along. Like, you know, one of them sits for, I mean, that's just computers. They'll figure out how to do that. They do that with so many things, you know, allocation.
But you're looking at the price of, I'm guessing somewhere around $1 million per tractor. So that haul bill is going to quadruple from getting something from the East Coast to the West Coast than what it's going to use with one tractor and a team drivers, you know, 2 team drivers getting it there on less than 500 gallons of fuel. So you got cost and you got, you know, they're going to add that into the supply that they're hauling. So whatever the case might be, the supply, they're going to just put that on to everybody else. So if you're buying something, say at $100, you know, that price could jump to $300 or $400 because they have to pay for those 3 or 4 extra tractors sitting there charging, waiting to pick up that load. So, I mean, that's something else that we need to think about, not counting all the infrastructure that we've got to do building roads and bridges to handle all that weight.
Oh, and Mr. Bob brings up the logging truck. It's basically a diesel electric. He has a diesel generator that supplies the electricity.
Oh, nice.
And since it's not the primary source of power for the truck, he can buy dyed diesel.
Because it's just running a generator.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, building engines, knowing engines very well, if you understand the combustion, you know, gas, diesel, whatever causing the combustion of the engines, okay, that can be done with compressed air, right?
There was Tata
you're
came out with a compressed air car.
Okay, all you're doing is we use an explosion from diesel or gas to cause the compression to make the engine run, right? Okay, all you need is compressed air. Then on board, you have compressed air generators with tanks. So every time those tires turn, you're building up air into the tanks, which would transfer to the engine to cause the compressed air for the cylinders to run. So you could buy a compressed air engine with the tanks and not probably have to replace anything for years. And as it goes, it would never need fuel, nothing like that. But guess what? There's no money in that. There's no charging. There's no buying batteries every 5 years. There's no money in fuel. We have ways around it. It's very simple. It's simple mathematics, engineering. It can do it. It won't cost nothing to do this, but there's no money in it. So there's answers out there, and it is not the electric car. I'm telling you, it is not the electrical vehicle, because 90% of that, batteries, whatever goes into computer chips, all comes from a foreign country. And then how they mine that is by basically power washing off the earth to get those minerals to make those batteries and those chips. So we're not only are we wasting water, we're destroying land and all that. And the simple thing is compressed air. It's simple as that, but there's no money in it.
back in 2008, the Tata Motors, it's an Indian company, they were working on a compressed air motor, and it was going to be a $2,500 car. I mean, I think they were kind of the size of a smart car ish, so really small. And they didn't, I don't think they actually produced them. So that concept has been around. Probably the biggest downfall for it was range, because they had a tank, but I don't think they had an onboard compressor to supply the tank. So you filled it up and then ran it.
Yeah. And I've been at races before. This is before 2000. And these guys built this car, they built the frame, all that. They just had a fiberglass body on it. So it was light, but on this car they had compressed air tanks. It ran off compressed air, and as soon as those tires started moving, it was pumping and filling back up the tanks. And back then it was running a quarter mile in like 8 seconds and something.
That's impressive.
Very impressive. It had all the torque it needed because it's all worked on air pressure, right?
Yeah.
So they had it regulated air pressure, stages. And the thing, not only was it running a quarter mile, it was filling the tanks as it ran the quarter mile and back down the exit, runway. And then they had to deal, you could literally hook up the air tank and fill the tanks up if it was a little low. And honestly, I've seen it with my own eyes, and it's the way to go. And actually, Toyota is working on it. And when Toyota gets this all done, I believe it's going to blow electric vehicles completely out of the water. And they're actually using it's water, basically. There's no exhaust, nothing. It's all good for the ozone, good for everything. And they're just using, basically, I believe, it's hard for me to wrap around because they didn't explain their techniques all the way through the engine, but basically it was water and combustion of some sort, and you could fill up in like 3 seconds instead of charging a battery. So,
Mr. G Webs,
That sounds like you could, in an emergency, use like an air pump too. Just sit there for half an hour with an air pump and get enough to get to the next station or something.
yeah.
Oh, we're gonna start the bracket. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I can't do the bracket. Somebody tried putting a slug in the coin slot, so it's all jammed up. So I got to get that taken care of. But anything you want to plug, G Webs?
No, thanks for hosting. Sorry, I got here late.
Oh, it's all right. Hillbilly, you want to plug anything? What you got coming up?
Oh man, I got a few videos coming out this week. Other than that, we got Guns, Beer, and Therapy every Saturday night, 9:00 Central, 10:00 Eastern, and we just try to have a good time over there, laugh a little bit. So if you ain't doing nothing, swing by and give us a visit.
So once again, if you watch this replay, leave a comment. Whatever we talked about, agree with, disagree with, where do you draw that line between the freedom and security? Is there a line to be drawn between freedom and security? And so the next chat is Wednesday for the Wednesday Night Mouse Party. And I appreciate everybody. And I hope everybody has a good rest of the night. And go do something good.
You still here? It's over. Go home.